So, as we move through the end of this first week of our 40 days of Advent, some of us have really changed our lifestyle, have been diligent in places where we've been slacking, where we've been letting sleep or busyness or addiction to devices and information. We've been letting those things distract us. And these last 6 days or so, perhaps we have seen a real burst of energy and discipline in this area of carving out time for God. The funny thing is that once we begin to do that, a whole new set of problems present themselves in our lives. One example of this is our obsession with efficiency. We live in a culture where we are multitasking all the time. We two things at once is no longer probably considered multitasking. You have to be juggling 3 to 5 balls at any one time for people to consider you really a go-getter on top of your game. And we worship efficiency. Now the problem is that when we come to our time with God, we are not entering into a task, we are entering into a relationship. And if you've ever noticed this, and maybe you haven't, but I hope you will pay attention now, you cannot focus on efficiency when you're trying to develop a relationship with somebody. You can't be concerned about the time. I hated in college when I'd be having a deep relationship conversation that was really going somewhere and significant and powerful with somebody over the lunch table. And there was just a few of these kids, but one or two of them I remember they would glance down at their watch mid-sentence and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be late for class, I gotta go." And that would be it. Conversation over. Stop dead in the water. And when I saw that happen, I decided I would value the moment more than anything that was expected of me on a time schedule. So I would skip classes if I was in the middle of an important conversation with somebody. I would let the conversation be the most important thing. And that has got to be the way we treat our time with God. The conversation, the moment, the experience has to be allowed to grow and mature at the pace that is natural for that moment. I don't think it's wise to bring a long to-do list into our time with the Lord. There is certainly a time to get stuff done. There is a time in prayer to get things done, to take seriously the impact that those prayers are going to have on situations around us, to take far more seriously than we usually do how powerful those prayers can be, and to wield those prayers with authority and with zeal. And there's certainly a time to do that. But I would just want to encourage people that even before that, and deeper than that, and further back than that, there needs to be a complete freedom in your time with God, to not have to accomplish anything. Some people who have better training in meditation and in silence have the ability to simply sit, like our mentor in the healing ministry, Mike Evans, who can sit for a couple of cups of coffee with Jesus and perhaps not say a word the entire time, and yet be very convinced, very focused on the fact that he is not having coffee with himself, he's having coffee with Jesus. And we can't all do that. I can't do that. If you give me a minute of complete silence, my mind will go somewhere other than the presence of God. So we're all at different levels, and that is great. Maybe some of our personalities will never go the same direction that others have, and that's okay too. We are not carbon copies of each other. And every relationship with God ought to be unique. It ought to have its own flavor. There ought to be things that you love to do with Jesus and Jesus enjoys doing with you that isn't on my radar at all. And maybe it needs to be and will be at some later date, and maybe it won't ever be. And that's not the point, because these are individual relationships with an individual actual personality. They are all going to come together and shape themselves into different formats. And I just want to encourage you that that is fine. That is okay. So I just encourage you not to bring your sense of, I got to get a certain amount of done in a certain amount of time into your relationship with God. And I'm going to tell you that if you allow him to break out of your quiet time into the rest of your day, it's going to affect some of your efficiency all across the board. And let's be honest, you should not be expected to get as much done as a person who isn't walking with God, as far as the daily minute details of activity. Okay, the people who are living at the shallow level, who never think about what's going on in the supernatural realm, who never think about what's going on inside their own soul. Of course, at the external level, it's going to look like they're accomplishing more. They can mow more lawns than you can, because that's as deep as they go. And if you are working on deep places in your soul that are broken and need healing, those things are going to distract you from what the world considers as being efficient. And I know for some of you brought up in families where business and accomplishment and success is so driven into you, that may be a major turnoff for you. And so if it is, I just encourage you to let it go. This is advice for other people, or another time in your life when God will maybe speak that to you. Maybe he won't. Maybe you are his go-getter. Maybe he loves the fact that you are constantly multitasking. I can't speak for every person. I just want to encourage all of you to consider that this is a time to be with God and to find rest and find refreshing, to find him and his love in a way that makes a difference for the rest of your day.